Bonsoir everyone, welcome to Chacha's Creepy Show. Did you know that in France there is an association that offers support and a listening ear to people who have experienced alien abductions? I bet you didn't. This association is called CERO France. That acronym stands for Contact and Abduction During UFO Encounters. This organization was founded by a woman named Myriame Belmyr, and tonight I'm going to tell you her story. By the way, the illustrations that I'm using are not photos from this lady. They are just there to illustrate her story from my perspective for this video, for you guys, business as usual. Let's get into it. Myriame Belmyr is now retired, but she worked as an information technology specialist. She had always been passionate about the stars and aeronautics, and she's a member of several associations of enthusiasts on these topics. She is the mother of 2 children. The story officially begins in 1987. I say officially because you'll see that things actually started much earlier. So at the end of 1987, Myriame is very tired because she had an especially exhausting year. She takes a few days off in early December to recharge on her own in Chamonix, a small town in the Alps, because she loves the mountains. She rents a 4-room duplex apartment just for herself on the top floor of a 6th-story holiday residence where she's practically the only guest. It's early December and the ski season hasn't started yet, which means she'll really get the peace and quiet she's looking for. She settles in and she eats dinner, then she goes to bed. She chooses the bedroom on the top floor because there's a skylight and she'll be able to enjoy a beautiful view of the stars before falling asleep. She turns off the light. She hears a small click. She doesn't understand. She assumes it must be a timer or something like that in the apartment. She doesn't think much of it. She closes her eyes and starts to drift off. Suddenly, even though her eyes are closed, she had the impression she can see herself lying on the bed in the room. She notices the window is wide open. She's paralyzed and can't move. Then she sees a sort of tube descending toward her. On either side of this tube are 2 small 3-fingered beings floating into zero gravity. She thinks this is all illogical and wonders where she is, because she knows no one floats around in zero gravity on Earth. The law of gravity is not respected there. She knows something is off. Yet the 2 small beings are still there, still levitating around the tube. And at some point, she feels the tube enter her body. She feels pain. She can't see where the other end of the tube goes. It's somewhere beyond the window. Very anxious, Myriame tries to wake up to escape this nightmare, which she manages to do. She opens her eyes and turns on the light. The window is indeed shut. Everything seems normal. She tells herself she had a hell of a nightmare, at the point that she can't fall back asleep that night. She prefers to read and listen to the radio because she is very shaken. She very rarely has nightmares, so this really unsettles her. After that terrifying episode, she experienced a sort of blackout, and for many years she had recurring flashbacks of that night's nightmare. It wasn't until much later, around 2010, that Myriame came across the book of Dr. John Mack, a professor at Harvard Medical School who documented hundreds of alien abduction cases from patients he had worked with It's a reference in the field, and if you're interested in these topics, I highly recommend reading it. This book affected Myriame so deeply that she read it twice, in both French and English. And it made her question things. That's what led her to undergo her first hypnotic regression in 2012. Then she re-experienced the whole scene from the nightmare and more. She sees herself lying on a table covered in some kind of fabric. She cannot move. She hears clinging sounds around her. She feels that the fabric is somewhat suffocating her. It's a strange jelly-like material. Then the fabric is removed. The little grey beings communicate with her telepathically. They explain that the tube is used to take samples from her ovaries to create hybrids, and that they are also doing something to her right kidney. Myriame finally has confirmation 25 years later that the flashbacks she had all those years weren't just a bad dream, but something very real. But Myriame doesn't stop there. She wants to know more. During her second hypnotic regression, she sees something in that same scene that she hadn't noticed the first time. Indeed, at the back of the room where she's lying, there is a tall insect-like humanoid, a praying mantis-type being, a cold, emotionless presence showing no empathy. Another regression takes her back to a night in the early 80s. That night, Myriame walks to her window and she sees a UFO hovering outside. She passed through the window and found herself inside the UFO, facing aliens that looked human-like. Except they had no hair, no eyebrows, no body hair at all. They were tall, very thin, and had an androgynous look with very pale skin. She asked them who they were. They replied that they monitor planets to ensure that the different alien species don't mess around too much when they approach, a kind of space patrol. They say they were peaceful beings on a mission of surveillance. Myriame says she felt they were very kind. She came back to herself afterwards, but she would meet them again in other regressions. During their conversations, this alien told her that humans have a beast-like behavior, that some leaders are dangerously insane and put humanity at risk.
I couldn't agree more.
And that what mankind does on Earth can interfere with other galaxies. What Myriame also understands with all these regressions is that the fear caused by these abductions leads to trauma and the repression of memories. And these memories resurface little by little, because in fact her encounter with the strange didn't begin out of nowhere in 1987. As she suspected, but much earlier. She remembered that she had already seen greys around her bed as early as 1976, when she was still a young woman. At the time, having no frame of reference, she thought they were elves. Because they were so small, she was always terrified of them because of the disproportion of their enormous heads. But in the end, she always convinced herself that these visions were due to fatigue or a bad day. I think no one wants a bad day to end that way. But from what Myriame understands, the elves have known her and been visiting her since she was a child. Indeed, Myriame has experienced paranormal phenomena since a very young age. Her mother reminded her that as soon as she learned to read, she kept asking for books about stars and planets, which may explain her intense fascination with the sky and space from such an early age. over the years through her hypnotic regressions and thanks to her work in the association she creates to help abductees better understand their experiences, Myriame has also come to understand that often abductions involve entire families. She believes her mother was probably abducted too. Her own children have experienced a number of unexplained phenomena. When she was 15, her father said he had seen a huge UFO while he was in another country. He had explained that it was the full moon that had suddenly come down, like he thought. Myriame's brothers also had an experience when he was 11. While in boarding school, he woke up one night in his dorm bed, hearing strange noises like gurgling sounds he didn't understand. And suddenly, in front of his bed, he saw little figures with very large eyes, wearing hoods and capes. The poor child was so terrified that he hid under the covers and fell back asleep. He only told her about it when he was 60 years old, after Myriame spoke publicly for the first time. Myriame Belmyr has taken on a very brave mission by creating a strong support system to help people who believe they have been abducted. And she continues this work with her team. She refuses interview requests from mainstream media, and she is right to do so. If you talk about UFOs in France, the media thinks you're crazy. It's that simple. So let's just talk about it among ourselves, and it's for the best. In the meantime, never forget to look up, and I'll be back soon. Bye.